Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen of the pairs will be analyzed today, but make sure you stay to the end of the video because I will be going through each pair, analyzing what happened this week and forecasting what could potentially be happening next week as well. But I do hope you enjoy the video. But with all that said, let's get into it. Okay, so first up we've got Euro USD. So for this pair, as you can see, nice move to the downside this week. Again, our main focus this week for Euro USD was in fact this level here. Really nice resistance, keeping us in the range. Price was respecting that level quite nicely. We broke outside of that resistance the week before. So I said that this week we'll look to see if we get a retracement back into this level, retest it, and then potentially go bullish. Or if we break back underneath, we'll look to see if we can get a retest as resistance again and expect Euro USD to roll over. And as you can see, we failed on the retest. Price just broke through with a very strong candle there, and right now we're holding it underneath this level as resistance again. So I'm actually looking for Euro USD to roll over. We do have a trend line running through. I'll just make that a little bit thicker. You can see we do have a trend line running through there, which price is bouncing off, but I think once we clear this trend line, potentially price will make its way back down into these lows here at 1.12. So I'm looking at a push into these lows here for Euro USD this week, potentially even this low here as well. Again, multiple areas where you can target. You don't have to look for an overall push into the lows. There's many areas we can look to take profit at, but for me, as long as we stay below this level of resistance, if I just make that a little bit tidier, this level of resistance, I'm bearish on Euro USD, looking for a break of that trend line and more continuation. If we do push back above, very strongly impulsively, I'll look for some retracement, go bullish, and we'll look to target these highs. So that's the only way I would go bullish on Euro USD, look for buys, something like that, on a retest of that level, and targets will be those prior highs. But for this week, as long as we stay below that, I'm mainly bearish. So I'm looking for another retest of this level. Again, first target will probably be the trend line, but now we'll be looking at this support at 1.12800, and then potentially we could go a lot further. But just for this week, we'll be looking for a push into 1.12800 as long as we stay below that level of resistance. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to USD JPY. So this pair rolled over this week, which was expected. On my breakdown last week, we were expecting a push to the downside. Overall, looking for a push back into these lows here at 112.800 area. Recently, we've seen a really nice rally to the upside, taking out these highs, but I think price is just giving this one more push for the market to see a lot more downside. So I'm looking at price coming into 112.800, so same bias as last week coming into this week, looking for more selling opportunities. Dropping down into the 4H, you can see we rolled over. We took our time this week to roll over, quite an aggressive pullback, but overall we kind of rolled over to the downside. So looking at two potential opportunities for this one. A break and retest of that prior swing low would be nice to get involved. Risk reward might not be the best, but if you do drop to the lower time frames, you can make use of that, looking at 112.800. Or if we do pull back and find support here again, we'll be looking for that next lower high to swing this back down, and mainly looking to see what could happen in this sort of area at 114.600. So yeah, bearish buys for USD JPY, looking for over 112.800. We might not get there this week. If the momentum does keep maintained, then yeah, we probably will. But we could find some support, mess around for a little bit. But I'm expecting USD JPY to go and hit 112.800 soon. So bearish bias, either break and retest of that low, or if we do pull back, we'll look for the next lower high. As long as we can stay below this level of resistance, we'll look to short it back down. And the end goal will be 112.800. Okay, so I'm going to move on to USD CAD. So USD CAD, we've seen pretty much consolidation this week, but on Friday saw quite an aggressive move to the upside there, as you can see with that bullish candle. So coming into this week, we're bullish on USD CAD, looking for price to hold 1.25, which is a very key support level. Running through on the daily time frame, you can see one bounce, second bounce, third bounce, very big bounce. acting as support there as well, and multiple wick rejections, as you can see. So we were expecting price to push to the upside from 1.25 if it does hold, and we're looking for a push into this support, which will now be resistance for us. So still maintain that bias. We're not at that level yet, as you can see. So looking for some retracement and expecting that continuation back up to around the 1.26300, 1.26400 mark. So still maintaining those buys from last week. Same bias, dropping onto the lower time frames. You can see that nice push there on Friday. So looking to treat this in two ways. We got that high there, which we did close above, but again, not very convincing. We could easily come back below. So if we can hold above this, we'll look for the break and retest on the lower time frames. Hourly could give a nice entry potentially, or even 30-minute, and looking for a push into 1.26400. Or if we do see price, kind enough to come back one more time, then we'll look for buying opportunities again. Obviously, we'll look at price action, see how it is reacting with the level. If we get some nice evidence that price is holding, we'll look for buys again, and targets will be 1.26400. So bullish on USD CAD this week, looking for either break and retest of that high, or price comes back down to 1.25, but looking for overall a push into 1.26400 for next week.
Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you find it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below, and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
Okay, so now take a look at Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, as you can see, a massive candle there on Friday, but overall we had mainly consolidation this week. Didn't really see too much activity, a bit of a false break on the lower time frames, but our bias for this week for Euro Pound was bearish. Again, the trend is still very much down, and we were looking for a push into 0.83, which we just missed by about 4 or 5 pips. But we're looking for a push into 0.83 this week, which lined up, actually on a weekly time frame, which lined up with our weekly level of support and resistance. So mainly looking for push into 0.83 for the market to come into here. It still could potentially, but we just missed that by, like I said, about 4 or 5 pips. But looking on the daily time frame and see how price action developed on the later stages of the week, it's giving us the indication that price could see some upside now for Euro Pound. We do have this trend line running through the market here, and it looks like potentially we could be seeing a bounce from that. If I go into the lower time frames, you can see the consolidation we had throughout the week, the false break. The false break to the upside, grabbing liquidity above those highs, again trapping some buyers, and then completely selling off to the downside. Did get a nice break and retest opportunity here, which I did say if we do get a break and retest of the low, could be some nice sells there to 0.83, which we just about missed, and then we did see this massive push to the upside here. So overall for Euro Pound, I'm looking for buyers coming into next week. I've got 2 opportunities I'm mainly focused on. We've got this level of resistance here, which we faked out last week, so it's important that we do see at least a 4H close above this, not hourly, because dropping to the hourly, you can see the false break there. If you wait for 4H, it would have just been a wick, showing us that price has actually not broken through that level yet. So we'll wait to see if we can get another break of this level, a retest, and then we'll be looking for those long opportunities to take it back into 0.84150 up there. So something like this, again, could drop lower if you want, but it's important that you do wait for 4 hours to go and break this. Or if we do respect this and we come back down, that's great as well. We'll be looking for buying opportunities, anticipating that the market is getting ready to have that breakout. So come back to this level, we'll look for opportunities to go long, and same targets as before, back up at 0.84150. So biases to the upside for Euro Pound, looking for push back into those highs up there. Okay, now we're going to move on to Aodu USD. So Aodu USD had a bearish bias this week for this pair. It's moving very, very correctively to the upside, struggling to really see that bullish momentum take off. And overall, it looks like the bears are starting to win this battle, and I do think we can roll over to the downside. Again, looking for a push to the upside this week to short the pair. So I was mainly focused on this level of resistance around here, which we did actually go and break through. So I was expecting potentially AUD to potentially continue to the upside back to highs, but it turns out it was a bit of a false break of that, quite an aggressive move, maybe caught some people on the wrong side, and then we rolled over quite aggressively on Friday. So I'm expecting this here, this level, or this high I should say, to be our first kind of next major lower high. So we've got a high up there, next one, so we're looking at this continuation and for pullback to get involved and take this further to the downside. So I'm mainly looking at this level next for AUD. You can see really nice resistance there with support. So if we can pull back into this one, looking for that third lower high, and then for the market to roll over, coming in at this level, which is 0.722. So around there, we'll be looking for sales, or if not, if we don't get that pullback, we'll be looking for sales if we can break and retest this low. And targets, I didn't say targets. Targets is we're looking for push into this low over here, which was our last kind of or second last major swing low. This was our last swing low. So looking at a push into 0.71119, or well, potentially if you do break through that, you could actually move into 0.7 pretty much on the dot, all the way down here. But for the week, we'll be looking at a push into this low here. We'll call it 0.7150. So that's what we'll look for a push into. So hopefully you can get a pullback. Again, that's better risk to reward, more pips to catch, but sometimes that momentum can just really rip off. So hopefully you can get a break and retest that support. But like I said, only looking for sales this week for AU unless something drastic happens, and targets will be at 0.71 150 down there. So that's the plan this week for AUD. Looking for sales. Hopefully you can get a retest of one of those areas, and looking to sell into that support for next week. Okay, now we've got NZD CAD. So NZD CAD still very bearish, like I've been saying for the past few days now for this one, or a couple of weeks at least. We've been very bearish here on NZD CAD. The targets this week for NZD CAD was 0.84500 and 0.84, which we kind of just came into there on Friday when we spiked to the downside there with that daily candlestick. So the market is very still flowing to the downside. You can see that on the weekly as well, breaking out that support very aggressively, and like I've said, this is mainly my target for NZD CAD, back into this major level of support around the 0.83 mark. So still a bit more room to the downside. Of course, potentially NZD CAD could pull back a little bit before we do go and hit that support, but overall that's what I'm expecting the market to go. So if we do see any aggressive moves to the upside, the market is likely just to roll over. So can be getting ready to put those sells in. So I'm looking at, if I drop to the 4H time frame, this nice swing low here, which we put in last week. If we can come back, pull into that area, retest that and sell off, we'll be looking for sales at that. But if we do see a more aggressive pullback, we'll also be looking at this prior swing low over here. If we do snap through that one and push into there, we'll still look for sales, and next target will be the next psychological level below 0.83, around 0.83500, or potentially actually just that weekly level. To be honest, might not hit that within 1 week, but that's the general direction we're going to be pushing our trades into. So we'll be looking at the first area, this support, now term resistance at, what's that, 0.85, really nice psychological level. But we'll also take into account this support here as well, now term resistance, just in case we do break through that area. And if we can respect this, again, just looking for sales over a weekly target, which I'm expecting price to get to, which is 0.83250. So yeah, next week looking for sales for NZD CAD, hopefully get some retracement in back into one of these two levels, and then sells for the rest of the week. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at pound NZD. So as you can see, this one's still trying to creep bullish here. We did see price push higher towards the end of the week. I was talking to you guys last week about if you could hold on to this spike here, potentially the market could roll over. We're putting so many wicks into that area, so I was expecting the market to decline. However, we found some support and price actually broke through that level. You can see down the 4H a lot better. We formed some support around this area here. Price respected that area, failed to break through, and did see a lot more upside. So pound NZD still looking bullish, and I did say if we do push higher, we're looking for 2.025, which is this high over here. which did give us a very big decline in price. So you can see price has pushed into this level now, spiked into it. So there could be some nice sell opportunities coming out now for pound NZD. Again, the market is still very, very bullish, so we're not going to expect to see a massive reversal. That could happen, but we're not going to try and anticipate that. Wait for the market to reverse, and then we can get into much more longer term short opportunities. Right now, the shorts were mainly looking just taking advantage of that retracement, because we are coming to a very, very key level of resistance. So dropping to the 4H, you can see we're kind of squeezing between a couple of trend lines here, which are pushing us to the upside to this level. So looking to see if we can get some nice selling opportunities from this high up here, and then we'll set it back down into the trend line or the support, coming into that 2.0075 area. If we can break through this channel, then yes, we can go a lot further. This is a very strong level. We could open up the doors and start coming to this support, but definitely going to look to target this first, just in case we do start to reverse to go to the upside. And just the same, this will be turned support. So if you do start to respect that, can actually look for buys and take it right back to the upside into that level. So I'm not expecting too much for pound NZD, kind of trading in that channel. Unless we break out, then we can start to see some bigger moves to the downside, but we could actually break through this high and go a lot further, because the market is still bullish. On the daily, on the weekly, we are still seeing a lot of bullish momentum here, so have to be careful with those sells, but some good selling opportunities probably on the hourly time frame could be presented to us next week, as well as buys as well. Okay, so now I'm going to get onto CAD JPY. So CAD JPY is selling off quite aggressively there towards the end of the week, which we were expecting. Maybe not so much of an aggressive sell-off, but we were expecting the market to sell off, looking for that next lower high formation, which did come after all this consolidation. We're mainly looking at this level of resistance here in the market. I said if we can hold onto this, we'll look for lower high to set it back down. It was difficult to look for a clean setup because of how the market was moving, but essentially this level hold, and then we saw the market spill over there on Friday. So we're looking bearish now, clearing some of these levels of support previously. The target for this week was 90 psychological level there, coming into play with this support and resistance. We haven't quite reached that level yet, so I'm still anticipating a bit more downside. But if we manage to break through this 90 level, so we just see that momentum maintain, and I'm looking at this double bottom here, so a bit more of a long-term forecast there for CAD JPY. But if you do manage to break through this strong momentum, hold underneath, that's what I'm expecting the market to come to. But for next week, looking for a push into this level, and we do have kind of like a minor level support and resistance running around here at 89,200. So not interested in any buys really this week. I'm mainly looking at sells back into 90 and then 89,200 or 89,250 to be more exact. Hopefully you can get some retracement on this one. We just broke through a really key level of support at 9,600, so we'll be looking for a break and retest of that to get in some sales, take it into 90 and then potentially into 89,200. If we do get some bigger retracement, then potentially could be looking up here again, or potentially at this support which we broke through. We've got the retest, so there's a couple levels we could look to get interested to sell the market, but like I said, mainly focus on sales, not really bothered with the buys. If we do start to see some outside momentum, it's likely to be retracement, so I'll just be getting ready to sell the market back down again. But those are the main areas I would say I'm expecting the market to sell off from. Break through this to probably change my buys completely. So yeah, CAD JPY into 90 and then 89,200 for next week. Okay, so next up we've got pound USD. So for this pair, we're expecting some downside this week. I did say last week that we're looking for a push down because the market was respecting 1.37 and a very key level on the weekly. As you can see, some nice support there on the left, and resistance. So we're expecting the market to decline this week, and we did see that move. I'm still expecting more downside for pound to be frank. I'm looking for moving to this support here. At 1.34250. There's also this level of resistance as well, which I'm looking at 1.35. So I've got two levels I've got my eye on. I'm still firmly on these pound USD shorts. there's no real evidence that we're going to go long yet. So I'm looking to see what can happen at those levels there. So I'm still maintaining that bearish bias. We're holding that trend line there. Potentially could come back to those lows if the overall bearish trend does continue, but we'll play it level by level. So I'm looking at 1.35 and then 1.34250. So how I'm going to play that, this is our last kind of major lower high on the 4H time frame. Push, pull back, push, pull back, push, pull back, push. So as long as we can hold this level of resistance, still maintaining that sell bias for next week. So we broke through that support. Now it's time resistance, so you can look on the lower time frames, potentially get some sells there into 1.35. That could be a nice opportunity, maybe for the people that like to trade the lower time frames, like 30, 15 minute. Or if you do see a slightly bigger retracement back into that previous high, again, still looking for sells, target at 1.35 for the week. But if we do see momentum really take forward, we'll be looking at 1.34250 down there. So main target is 1.35, potentially 1.34250, but only really looking for sells next week for pound USD. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to pound CAD. So pound CAD we rolled over this week, which was expected. Again, I've been quite bearish on pound CAD for the past, few days now, maybe a couple of weeks even. I'm looking for the market to roll over. You can see on the weekly time frame, we put this lower high, well, we put that high in there, that lower high. I'm looking for a third lower high and for another impulsive leg like this to the downside. So I'm expecting pound CAD to roll over back into these lows. Again, that might take a few weeks to get there, but mainly focus on those sells as we work our way down unless something happens. So pound CAD shorts, overall target all the way down here, of course, but not going to look to target that for this week. Going to see if we can make it into this support here, and we also got this wick here as well, which we didn't test at 1.69500, and we got this one at 1.68500. So that's the targets I'm going to be working with for pound CAD for the next few days, next few weeks. First, I do want to see some retracement to the upside first, form a lower high, then we can get involved for some sells. So we do have a really nice level of support here at 1.71, 1.71. Come back, respect that resistance, that'll be great. We'll be looking at sells, take this into 1.69500, then maybe 1.68500 depending on how we're moving. We also got a little bit of a trend line here connecting those two major highs there, so that high there as well. Could have some nice confluence in this area for some sells, and then we'll be looking to take that lower. Like I said, 1.69500 will be the first target, and then potentially second target for the week. I'm not sure if we'll make it all the way back down to those lows for next week, but never say never. So sell bias for pound CAD, I'm mainly looking at 1.71 holding, and then selling this one right back down. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at pound JPY. So pound JPY, big move to the downside this week. Again, we were mainly looking to see if the market would hold at 156, which you can see we broke through on Tuesday or Wednesday, broke through, had a retest of that level. We held 156 and the market did collapse to the downside. So we're looking very, very bearish. I did say if we do sell off, I'm looking at 154,500, which is at this level here, really nice resistance there. Coming now, acting as support, but it looks like the market actually might be taking out that level. So I'm looking at the momentum continuing this week for pound JPY to the downside. I'm looking at the market coming back into this level of support and resistance at 152,500. You can see there really nice support there again with that wick, and also resistance with this wick to the upside there as well. So we could be attracted to that area, especially if we do go and break through this level, which it does look like potentially price is doing. So expecting more downside for pound JPY, targets at 152,500. We've had quite an aggressive sell-off. I'm not sure if I'm expecting price to come all the way back up and retest that support term resistance. If it does, great, we'll be looking at sells there, so I'll mark that on, but I'm not sure if the market will retrace that far. It's quite bearish, might not have the energy to do so. It'll probably just roll over. So I'm mainly looking at this level here on the left, which you can see all these wicks are at 154,500, to see if this level will now hold as resistance. I want the market to come back and retest this throw some wicks into this area, see some nice candlestick formations, then could look to get short and take this into 152,500. But if it doesn't hold, we'll of course look at that support, term resistance to sell it back down again. Not really too fussed about buying opportunities this week. Everything really is starting to point bearish now for pound JPY. There's no real need to look for buys unless you're in the lower time frames for this pair. So looking at sells from 154,500 or 155,500 and looking at 152,500 for next week. Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at gold. So gold looking quite bullish there on Wednesday. Big push to the upside there on the daily, as you can see with that bullish candle, and actually breaking above a very critical level of support resistance here at 1830. So if we can hold this area, I'm expecting more longs for gold, more upside, staying above 1830. I'm looking at price coming into this support time resistance here on the daily at 1850. Nice support, that candle. Now we've got the retest. So looking at price coming to that, and also these highs up here with that wick. So that's the plan for gold. If we can hold this into there, and then I'm looking at price into those highs, potentially even higher, coming to those highs up there. But for next week, looking at 1850 and then 1870. Again, you can see we're getting that retest now. So if you can maintain that coming into Monday, we'll look for buying opportunities here. Again, you can drop the low time frames if you want, and then looking at that 1850 mark and then potentially 1868, so not quite 1870, 1867, 1868 to the upside, but we do need to stay above this level. So we can potentially fade to the downside, get back above and then buy, but I do need to see the price remain above this. So bullish for gold, looking for buys, expecting 1830 to hold. First target coming to the 1850 area, then 1867 up there. Okay, so last but not least, Bitcoin absolutely melted to the downside this week. You can see 40k did not hold whatsoever. Again, I did say coming into the week we're looking to sell the market back down from around the 44k mark, and then if not, if you do push higher into this level here, back into 40, expecting potentially some upside, but as you can see, we absolutely demolished that level. So Bitcoin looking very, very bearish, as you can see, even on the weekly, not looking too good, but we are coming to a very, very critical level of support here at 30k. So you can see there held support, big move to the upside, big move to the upside. Now it looks like we're on our way into that level. So again, main focus will be on this level for Bitcoin now to see what happens, if we can bounce from this or do we break it again. We've just broken through a very, very key level here at 40k, so there is a chance that we could come back to retest it. So Bitcoin right now for me is in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of just trading below a very key level of support at 40k, and this level of support as well at 30k. So I want the market to come to an area of value, see what type of price action we get there, and potentially could look to buy or sell depending if we're at resistance or support. So if we do push back to the upside, we'll look to see what happens at 40k, which will now be resistance, could push us lower, just see this bearish trend continue. Or if we do make our way down to 30k, we'll see how we react with 30k, potentially could catch some nice buys. Like I said, multiple wick rejections at this area, so we could take advantage of some upside. So this is how we'll be looking to play Bitcoin. Buys into there, sells back down again, and just looking to see how the market reacts with 40k level and the 30k level. But right now, I'm not really interested. For me, it's in the middle of nowhere, so waiting for the market to get to an area of value. 40k is clearly broken, so potentially could come back for the retest, could open up some more sells, or if we just drop to 30k, start to hold that, could open up some buys back up to 40k for next week.
Okay guys, so that's the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed that, found that useful. Like always, any questions, didn't understand something, agree to disagree with my analysis, let me know in the comments and I will get back to you. If you are enjoying the content, leave a like on the video, it does help the channel out. Subscribe for more, and also hit the bell so you don't miss out on any uploads or any of my streams during the week. But with all that said guys, have a great weekend and I'll catch you all on the next one.